So in today's video, this is going to mark the end of a 10-month experiment where we wanted to see not only if we could raise our own meat birds, which we've done several times in the past, but to see if that we could keep some for breeding stock, breed them and hatch our own meat birds and be able to continue that supply without having to go back to a hatchery to buy baby chicks. So let's just see how it turned out. So if you've been following our farm, you would have known back in September we purchased a straight run of Cornish Cross and also a straight run of Rangers. Some people call them Freedom Rangers or Red Rangers. I'm not sure if those are just or hatchery specific names or not, but if you've raised the Cornish Cross before, like really at about 8 weeks is when we process those. We've kept some as long as like 12 weeks, but anyone that's raised them, like, you know, you'll just see they get very lazy. I mean, they're pretty much lazy their whole lives. They put on like a lot of fat at some point. It really, past 8 weeks, it's really not worth it to keep feeding them for the amount of extra meat that you're gonna get. The Rangers, on the other hand, are a little bit more active. And so, and this is the first time that we had raised a batch of Rangers. And so as I'm watching them, I'm, you know, just kind of seeing their behavior, and they're acting a lot like our regular laying hens that run around the farm. You know, and so I thought, well, I wanted to see if we could keep a few of the Rangers to have them grow to a breeding age where we could be able to hatch our own meat birds. And that way it would cut out that middleman of going to a hatchery to buy them every year if it worked out. And I've been told that you can't do that for different reasons. One of them is that they just don't lay eggs very well, and it's just not worth it. And I had a friend of mine tell me that the way that the genetics are with these Rangers, it's a cross between like 4 different breeds. And when you breed the Rangers that we buy from the hatchery, their offspring is going to revert back to one of those 4 breeds. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's what we were told. But again, I have to try it, otherwise I'll always wonder. And so we did that. So, and they started laying eggs. Let's see, we got them in September. So September, October, November, December, January, February, maybe March. They started to lay eggs. And so we took 12 of their eggs and set them in the incubator. And out of the 12 eggs, 5 of them hatched, you know, so the hatch rate was not good to start with. And we got 2 roosters and 3 hens out of those 5 Ranger offspring. So, and then today, we left the hens are still out there because it turns out they actually do lay pretty good. You know, they're not going to be your best layer, but I mean, we were still getting 4 or 5 eggs a week off of them, which I thought was pretty good. So, but today we are processing these 2 roosters that we raised up from the Rangers. And so we've already weighed them, and we'll put those clips in this video, but they were like right around 8 pounds. But these guys are about 4 months old. So 16, 17 weeks old, you know, and we let all of our chickens, except for the ones that we're raising specifically, again, this was an experiment, so, but the ones that we raised specifically for meat on a set time frame, we raise those in an electric netting and then we move it around the field. But with these guys, they've been completely 100% free range with the rest of our chickens. You know, and so their feed consumption wasn't as much because they're out digging in the compost pile and getting bugs and grass and whatever else they eat. But they are eating grain too that we have in the chicken stall. But anyway, so we're gonna process them out and just see what they look like. We did, I guess 3 months ago, we processed the adults that we kept as our breeding stock, just because after about 6 or 7 months, they were getting really big and you could tell like it was starting to wear and tear on their body. And so they weren't as active as they used to be. And so we processed those, and I think our rooster, I want to say he weighed like 13 pounds when we processed him, and the hens were like around 10 or 11 pounds. But when we processed them, like there was, I mean, probably an inch of fat on them. It was it was the nastiest chicken that I've ever processed, and I don't even know if we're gonna eat it. We do have it in the freezer, but it was not your ideal meat bird at that point. So hopefully these guys are gonna look a little bit better. So let's just see what they turn out to be. Yeah, so right off the bat, as I've kind of started to cut in, as I cut off the feet and then I cut back part of the wings and chop the neck off, is the joints are like really thick. And then the last ones did not, they were really hard to process. They just don't, the skin doesn't come off as easy. Yeah, that's way harder than it normally is to pull the skin off these. Yeah, so the meat on these, one is, God, these things are just such a pain in the butt to skin. We do have a plucker and a scalder, but I didn't feel like getting it out for 2 chickens. So we're just gonna skin these, but yeah, this is like really tough. But they're not near as fatty, so far at least, as their parents were. Which again, we processed those at about 7 months old. So as we close out this experiment, there's a few things that we learned. One, that the second generation Rangers did not grow near as fast as the first. And then also, I just don't think it's worth it to do what we did repeatedly, because again, one, the adult Rangers were getting kind of sluggish, and I don't think they would have lasted a whole lot longer, and that they just weren't healthy birds by the time they got that old. And so you would only be able to get so many batches of chicks out of there to do that. But we were happy with the size of the 2 Rangers that we just processed. I mean, like I said, they were 8-pound birds. I didn't weigh them after we had processed them, but but they were going to be your average sized birds. But again, just the time and the energy and the resources to raise a batch of Rangers only to process a few, it's just not worth it to do it that way. So I mean, I love to cut out the middleman on things, but in this case, I feel like the most efficient, cost-efficient way to do it is to just buy 25 or 50 or 100, however many, wherever that price break is too, for your meat birds, and just get them shipped in, raise them for your 8 or 12 weeks, whichever breed you get, and process them out and then be done. But it was a good experiment, and it's one of those things that if I didn't do it, I would have always wondered how it would have turned out. So now I know, and now you know. And if you want to see how we raise our chickens on pasture, be sure to click this video here, where it's really about our chicken tractor build, but in that video we show our setup for how we raise them on pasture. See y'all next time.